Okay, welcome everyone. My name's Cade Jones. I'm with the Acadiana Planning Commission here in Lafayette, and we are having our Opelousas Asset Mapping Community Outreach Meeting. And so thank you for joining me this evening. If everyone could, please drop your name in the chat box, just so I can be aware of who is here. And what we're gonna do is I'm gonna go through a brief presentation on what this is about, and then we're looking to get your input on the initiative that we have going here. So I am going to share my screen, and I have a PowerPoint set up for us. So today we're gonna, I'll give you an overview of who Acadiana Planning Commission is and why we're here, what the prospectus is, how we're putting it together, and then that's whenever I'll be asking for some feedback. Okay, Acadiana Planning Commission, we're in Lafayette, downtown. We serve the public sector in the planning and implementation of economic, community, and transportation development throughout the region known as Acadiana, including the Louisiana parishes of Acadia, Evangeline, Iberia, Lafayette, St. Landry, St. Martin, and Vermilion. Invest Acadiana is an initiative powered by Acadiana Planning Commission, which is us and One Acadiana, to promote opportunity zone investment throughout the region. The purpose of today's meeting is to put together a community profile based on input collected from the members of Opelousas. Goals of the meeting are to establish the existing stock of the assets and capitals that constitute Opelousas' current wealth, determine the future desires of the community in terms of investment and development, place the power of decision-making in the hands of community members, and discover the strengths of individuals and their capacities in the community of Opelousas to create an action plan that local organizations and partnerships can use to spur action. And if you hear a train in the background, we're right next to the train station and the bus station in Lafayette. So, information gathered in today's meeting will be used to inform a prospectus of Opelousas. The prospectus will then be used to spark investment in the community and address the capitals that make Opelousas unique. So, Opportunity Zones is a federal program. It comes out of the White House Opportunity and Revitalization Council. Essentially, it provides tax incentives to locally low-income designated census tracts, which we have, I believe, 25 in the Acadiana region, several of them being in St. Landry Parish between Eunice and Opelousas. So if I'm an investor and I want to move my business into one of these opportunity zones, there are capital gains tax incentives available. So what we are doing is we started off regionally with the entirety of Acadiana, and we made a regional prospectus. And then we zoomed in a little into Lafayette. They made a Lafayette prospectus, and then we zoomed in a little more into Lafayette and made a University Corridor prospectus. In August of last year, Scott Turner is the executive director of the White House Opportunity and Revitalization Council and ex-NFL football player, which is cool. They came down here with their team to Opelousas and Lafayette, and we toured several locations in Opelousas, and they liked our prospectuses. And after that, we decided that we were going to put a prospectus together for the towns and cities of Abbeville, Breaux Bridge, Church Point, Eunice, New Iberia, Opelousas, and Ville Platte. We've been conducting these meetings. We've had one for all of the communities, and Opelousas is the final meeting. we actually just had a separate meeting for a different project for the I-49 Midway Corridor project that we have partnered with St. Landry Economic Development. And we had a similar type of meeting just last week. So I know Opelousas has had a lot of community meetings, and I just want to emphasize my appreciation of you being here for this one. So with that being said, the methodology that we are using to put these prospectuses together is called WealthWorks, and it was developed by the Aspen Institute. Essentially, it breaks the values and assets of a community into these 8 categories. And so what we're going to do is I'm going to briefly move through all of the categories and explain what we mean, how we're defining them. And then we're going to go back and I will give you some examples of what I've been able to discover in my own personal research and have you verify and add to what I've found. So individual capital, we are looking at the skills and capacity, including healthcare, workforce, job development, training, industry driven data, and that type of asset. Intellectual is going to be all of your school stuff, anything to do with work readiness programs and libraries. And that's kind of a good example of how a lot of these capitals can, fall under the category umbrella of several different categories. Sorry, got a phone call. Education, yep, libraries, education, schools, work readiness. Social capital is going to be all of your networks and relationships in the community. So all of your clubs, religious organizations, nonprofits, event organization, and that sort of thing. Cultural capital is going to be all of the fun stuff, and we have plenty of that in South Louisiana, in Acadiana especially. All of your festivals, traditions, and arts. Natural capital is going to be all of your outdoors, recreation, parks, fishing and hunting, and that type of ecotourism, and that sort of asset. Built capital is probably the broadest category, and it could honestly be broken up into many subcategories. So we're looking at historic structures and districts, the buildings that constitute a place, transportation infrastructure, anything to do with airports, trains, and docks, and sort of the economic infrastructure. So we'll get a little further into that. Political capital is your form of government, your accessibility to decision makers, and this one is a little easier for me to find because these resources are normally listed out pretty well on websites and things. Financial is going to be all of your economic partners, your banks and local incentives and income, and anything to do with creating wealth in the community. So those are the 8 capitals. And now we're going to go back to the first one, to individual, and I am going to read off some of the notes that I've been able to find on my own, and then I'll ask a few questions and hopefully get a conversation started because I want to hear from you. So, Is the Walmart distribution center, is that in Opelousas or is that in a different community?
No, technically it is, Kate. It is actually in the corporate boundaries of Opelousas.
Okay, and that's something that if an investor wanted to move here, that's something that we want to highlight to them.
Absolutely. Close to 1,100 total employees out there.
Yeah. So, and then I have Opelousas Health Systems as one of the major employers with, I believe, over 2,000 jobs. And Delic, what is Delic?
Kate, OGH, I think is more like 1,250. We may want to verify that number on their total number of employees.
Okay.
Delic would not be specific to, I mean, clearly there's an impact with the Delic, that's the refinery in Krotz Springs on the Atchafalaya River. It would provide an economic impact for sure to Opelousas, but if you're looking for things specifically within the corporate limits of Opelousas, it doesn't fit that bill. So I don't know what your criteria is.
So generally speaking, Bill, some things we are looking to the outside of the opportunity zone boundary because if it's a resource that an investor could pull from outside of the community, then we still want to include it in our prospectus.
Yeah, they have about 220 permanent employees out there, roughly 230, somewhere in that range, with a very high overall average level of salary, probably somewhere in the $80,000 per and up with their employees. So, and that's not counting the contracted employees and the major contracted projects that they have going out there with right now with temporary construction workers. They've invested about $500 million in that facility over the past 36 months. So it's a pretty significant economic impact to the area.
Awesome. And for the record, Opelousas has 3 opportunity zones. Those opportunity zones were designated by the state, I believe, and their boundaries are set. They can't change. Just that's come up in other meetings if people were wondering how they were chosen and if they can change. So no, they don't change. Let's see. What about outside of just Opelousas General Health System? That's the main hospital, correct? What other healthcare services do we have in the community in Opelousas? Like any urgent cares or nursing homes or specialty care centers of any kind?
And yes, there is. I'm not sure if I could describe all of them. There's certainly urgent care centers within the Opelousas boundary on things. There's all LHC Group has a palliative care facility here. There's behavioral health centers here in Opelousas. I'm not sure that we could describe all of them. We could try to get you a list of those, but there's multiple healthcare related facilities operated by different companies within the Opelousas area.
Okay, I got you.
Okay, and I would also encourage you to look at our Opportunity St. Landry website, and you will see some of a listing under key employers. If you drop down, you will see a lot of these employers listed in there that should help you out a lot, I think. It's under site selection all the way down to the drop down and key employers.
Oh yeah, I see that. Thank you for that, Bill. And then I have international snubbing in Arnoville. That is, what is there any connection between Arnoville and Opelousas that we can speak of?
I don't know that we could provide you data on employee commuting patterns for those companies, but yes, ISS is another company that's oil field services, so it's somewhat cyclical with its workforce with that. But again, the workforce that they have is a very well compensated workforce. It's not just living in the Arnaville area and are probably having an impact either living in directly or providing shopping resources and those types of things in the greater Opelousas area. Yes, I would say that falls within it.
Okay. And just for everyone on the call, just a fun tidbit. I was going to school for landscape architecture and working with the New News Art and Culture Collective in Arnaudville, Louisiana. And that's whenever I first heard of St. Landry Economic Development and Bill. And then I got plugged in with the Acadiana Planning Commission that way. And I've been here for 1 year. So I didn't go to school for planning. I'm a little outside of my element doing planning, but it's been a year and it's been fun. So just side note. Okay, if no one has any other comments about the individual capital, we can move on to the next one. And I'll say this, if anyone wishes that there was something they would have mentioned before, you can drop that in the chat and I'll provide you with my email if you want to send me anything afterwards. And one more note is that these prospectuses are going to be a living document. So as Opelousas changes and evolves, we want to be able to update it and, have it grow with Opelousas. And Taylor Lormond with SLED in the comment in the chat box pointed out South Star Urgent Care, Louisiana Urgent Care, Checkpoint Urgent Care, and the significant healthcare presence on the southern end of Opelousas. Thank you for that, Taylor.
So Kate, on your final product with this, I don't know if you want to do this, if you want to provide it to us on what you come up with and see if we can add it or enhance that at all, we'd be happy to do that. Specific to like industries and those types of things. On this slide specific, if you don't feel like that, that's fine. But if you'd like to, that's fine as well.
Okay, definitely. I appreciate that. And I'm going to double check my Facebook Live comments and make sure that we don't have anyone participating there. Okay, we're good. Moving right along, we'll speak of the intellectual capital of Opelousas. So I've found the St. Landry Business and Career Solutions Center. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct, Kate.
Okay. And then LA Workforce Commission has a presence in Opelousas, and then we want to highlight the St. Landry Parish Visitor Center as well.
Kate, and we'd want to make sure that we highlight the two campuses of South Louisiana Community College here in Opelousas, T.H. Harris. There's both a career readiness. It promotes diesel mechanics, non-destructive testing, things like that. And then there's more of an academic-based campus that promotes general education, healthcare related fields, and things of that nature. So that's a significant education as resource within Opelousas.
Awesome. And then what about Opelousas High School? Do they have any sort of vocational programs or connection to the workforce?
Yes, they actually have a biomed academy associated with Opelousas High School that I think is clearly worth noting as part of that.
Great.
They also have, and maybe someone else on the call has more direct education background, the MACA Center for the Arts within Opelousas in the K-12 system. And they do have career tech academies that support the students from Opelousas, one in Washington, and there's also one in Eunice for career-related fields for high school students. Okay. Actually, the district is very proactive in career-related education training for its students.
We'll also want to highlight the library, which you can see pictured here. And if anyone on the call has any good photographs that they would like to contribute, that would help me a lot in putting this document together. Does anyone have any contributions to the intellectual conversation?
Yes, this is Brad Mayfield. I'd just like to comment that we also have a charter school in the area that does provide dual enrollment, which has that relationship with SLCC. So we have a funneling system where our students are not only receiving a diploma, but they're also receiving those certifications in those industrial arts as well as general studies associate degrees.
Awesome.
And
Thank you.
that's J.S. Clark Leadership Academy.
Okay. Yeah, that's something that we're going to want to note then.
And that could be noted for the school system in general. They are in promotion of the dual enrollment for their students, whether that be partnerships with SLCC in general or with LSUE and UNIS. They do promote dual enrollment for their in support of that for their students.
Okay.
Hey, Kate, it's Taylor. So, and this may be something that we want to talk about on the side, but there are several different paths that you can take through St. Landry Parish Schools to graduate high school, either with also an associate's degree or really close to it. I don't, I would have to delve into the specifics of that, but I definitely think that that's something that's worth highlighting.
Is that general for St. Landry School Board or?
Yeah. So it is across the parish through their different high schools. Let's see, I think that there are 5 or 6 high schools, which is sort of why I said we can, let's see, there are 7 high schools. So I would have to get specific information and then sort of map out the schools to show you what it all looked like. But I just definitely wanted to make sure that you note that they're actually pretty progressive in the programs that they have.
Thank you, Taylor.
Uh-huh.
All right. So we covered schools, we covered higher education, and we covered work readiness. Are there any kind of institutions that aren't related to schools that are considered an intellectual capital? For example, Abbeville wanted to highlight their print newspaper, the Meridional. Oh, we have some comments in the chat I want to read. We have just what is it that will actually happen under cultural section? I own a business on West Landry Street by the name of Bottoms Up Art Center. Children are offered piano lessons, dance, drum lessons, voice, and karate lessons. What is the Opportunity Zone offering, and how do we go about applying for it? Is this a group effort or individual effort per business? Okay, so the Opportunity Zone, I'll put a link in the chat that explains the federal program. And yeah, that is stuff that we will want to highlight in the cultural section. To the question, how do we go about applying for it? If you're an investor or a business owner in an Opportunity Zone, I will defer to my coworker Chad to help answer that question. In the chat, he says an Opportunity Zone investment represents an equity investment in a business. So we can provide you with more information about the program. If it's a group effort or an individual effort per business, it's per business. It's something that investors or business owners can tap into. I'm sorry, was someone saying something?
Yes. What do we do from this point? do I get an application from you, or where do we go from here? What do you need from me to be interested into the opportunity zone?
It looks like Bill stepped away from his desk for a second. Hi, Phyllis. My name is Taylor, and I work for St. Landry Economic Development. So opportunity zones were formed under the Trump administration. And basically what it is it takes investors and business owners or investment groups, usually whenever they make a profit off of an investment, they are required to pay capital gains taxes. And so this program basically says that you can take, instead of paying capital gains taxes, you can take that amount and you can invest it into a project in an opportunity zone instead of paying it basically to the IRS. So it's not any sort of necessarily like a grant, a normal grant application or anything like that. You would have to have a project or an opportunity that basically you would pitch to, investors. And that's sort of what these prospectus, this whole initiative is about, is to put together basically a marketing package for our different opportunity zones so that nationwide investors can look at this and see the different opportunities that they could potentially invest in within those areas. And there are a lot of intricacies that are involved in that, but that's sort of a 30,000-foot nutshell explanation.
So would you walk us through this? You just said a lot, and none of that, it just went through my ears. So would you just actually walk us through this? Is there some classes or something to show us how to do this?
Mr. Chad Lacombe with the Acadiana Planning Commission is providing guidance in the chat, and I have put a link to irs.gov where they have frequently asked questions about the opportunity zones that you can look there for more specific details on how to benefit from the program.
Okay, so it's no actually signing up with you. You're just
No, not through us.
You're just introducing it?
Yes, ma'am, and developing marketing materials to attract investors to our Acadiana opportunity zones.
So I would be one of those investors, is what you're saying?
If you have a project, and actually I'm going to point you to visit investicadiana.com, and I'm putting that in the chat box here. And if you have an opportunity zone project, you can propose it there.
Okay, I actually had a tribe festival in June, but I had to cancel that, so I'll add that too.
Okay. Does anyone else have any contributions to the intellectual capital component of the prospectus? And thank you for that, Brad. I do have your note about J.S. Clark Leadership Academy, and we will be sure to include them in the prospectus. Okay, well, let's see. Chad in the chat box said Jeff Stewart, who is a professor at UL, through the Lead Center at UL, will be working with entrepreneurs throughout the region to get them investment ready. And we can talk more about that in a bit. Let's see. Okay, social capital. Let's see, I have the Kiwanis Club, the Rotary Club, the Masonic Temple. Is that there is a Masonic Temple in Opelousas?
I think so.
And American Legion. Is there a Veterans Club?
I'm sure there is.
Or a VFW type club. And then Is there any type of like keep the streets beautiful clubs in Opelousas?
The Walking Ladies.
The Walking Ladies. What's that?
The Walking Ladies, it's a group of 4 ladies who have been walking together for, 20 years, so somewhere around there. And they are responsible for the Christmas lights on the courthouse square, and then the nativity scene, and they do it every year. They were recognized by CFA, the Community Foundation of Acadiana. Last year, they actually won the St. Landry Parish Philanthropy Award. Yeah.
There's also a Knights of Columbus organization here as well, Kate.
Okay, Knights of Columbus. And I'm thinking in cultural, I want to give a shout out to New News being so close to Opelousas. Or do you think that would be appropriate?
Absolutely. Okay. And also, I mean, there's surrounding New News. You've also got the adult immersion school that's being worked on, which is a massive asset because it's really rare across the country to have adult certified immersion schools, and they will be one. So that is a massive international asset for the parish.
Okay.
Also, this kind of goes hand in hand. This is Raquel from the St. Landry Chamber. This goes hand in hand with social and cultural, but the Opelousas Imperial Mardi Gras Association, I know that they do community work, as well as obviously the cultural work of Mardi Gras.
Okay. Thank you, Raquel.
There are also 3 different Rotary clubs. You've got a morning one, a noon one, and an after hours Rotary club.
Interesting. Are there any garden clubs?
I don't know.
Okay.
I think that there's the Opelousas Historical Women's Historical Society. I'm getting the pattern there of the name mixed up, but it's a women historical society that focuses on women in the history of Opelousas. And I think that a lot of the women in that group used to be a part of the Opelousas garden club, but there's also an Opelousas women's club. I can't remember if the garden club is still a thing. I know that there's the women's club.
Okay.
Raquel, do you know the name of the youth group that the volunteer group that Miss Yvonne has?
Yeah, so there's 2. The first one is Interact. So that's under the Rotary Club, the Sunrise Rotary. That Interact is a youth level of Rotary basically. And so there's like you were saying earlier, there's the main clubs, and then the after hours is not technically an independent club yet. That's a satellite club, also out of the Sunrise. And then the other one is the Youth Leadership Council. I'm sorry, I have a dinosaur in the background.
It's okay. I have Sonic the Hedgehog, so you're fine.
So yeah, the Youth Leadership Council is a subcommittee of the St. Landry Chamber Board of Directors.
Okay.
And Miss
then-
Yvonne also belongs to a religious group, but I'm not sure which one that is. And then there's also the Pastoral Alliance.
Yeah, so Miss Yvonne is in the Pastoral Alliance, and she also is the name of the group is the St. Landry Parish Cemetery Historical Society, something like that. But I think it's a subgroup of the St. Landry Parish Catholic Church, St. Landry Catholic Church. That group is dedicated to the historical cemetery next door to St. Landry Catholic Church, and the revitalization of some of the 100, 200, and 300-year-old graves on site.
Awesome. And in the chat box, we have pointed out the annual trash bash, which is a partnership with local schools to clean up neighborhoods. The Opelousas Main Street and Historic Districts, which Bill, thank you for that. I actually have a map I'm going to show y'all in the built section. And then the Southern University Ag Annex is located in Opelousas, which hosts educational seminars for gardening and farming opportunities. That's good.
There's
And
also, I don't know, I stepped away for just a second, but did anybody say anything about Hope for Opelousas? It's a nonprofit, but they do community work as well. Like they're revitalizing a lot of the old houses in the neighborhood that they have their nonprofit in. So it's a nonprofit group for or a youth group, basically youth services nonprofit, but they've also done some community revitalization as well.
awesome. I found their website. That's good. And then Miss Phyllis mentioned the 7th District Baptist Association. Thank you for that. Chad said, isn't there an annual program in cemeteries every year around All Saints Day?
Yeah, so that is the cemetery tour, or the cemetery group that I was talking about. The way that they raise funds is around that time. In October every year they do tours every weekend in October, if I'm not mistaken, and that's how they do their funding. And that revenue they use to revitalize those graves.
Okay. And Taylor, is this the same Miss Yvonne that has been coming to our I-49
Yes,
corridor?
that is Miss Yvonne, who deserves the title of Queen of Volunteer of St. Landry Parish. Absolutely, that is her. Yes.
Awesome. Okay, maybe I'll give her a whole spread in the book. Are there any other nonprofits or networks or groups? Let's see. Miss Phyllis mentioned many volunteer AAU coaches who coach kids year round. Okay.
Do 501c6s fall into this category or one of the other ones in workforce?
I guess it depends on the organization. They probably could, some of them could probably fall under both.
Hey, Kate, it looks like Don Broussard is trying to talk to you, but I don't hear his sound coming through. It looks like he's trying to communicate some kind of a message to you, though.
Uh-oh. Mr. Donald, it says you're on mute. Oh, no, I see he's not on mute, but for whatever reason, I can't hear. Raquel, was there a specific organization you had in mind?
Not besides my own.
Okay.
Cade, if we're talking 501c6s, we also have, which is part of our economic development group, we have our Vision St. Landry board, which is basically a 17 CEO roundtable, and they've been pretty dynamic in supporting different education initiatives throughout the parish. So I don't know if you would want to note them here or elsewhere.
Okay. And I think some of these are going to be highlighted in the financial section where we list our economic partners. We're going to give St. Landry Economic Development a blurb there and the Chamber of Commerce. Okay, I think we're good to move right along. And if anyone thinks of anything after, feel free to drop that in the chat. So cultural, that's the fun one. And what I've been able to find is the Zydeco Extravaganza, the Opelousas Spice and Music Festival, the Juneteenth Folklife Festival, St. Landry Parish Catholic Church's Voices of the Past Cemetery Tours. Is that the same one that we mentioned earlier?
Yes, it is.
Okay. La Yambali. What is that?
It's no longer in existence.
Okay. I'm gonna take them off. Just out of curiosity, what that?
So that was a long-standing, it might have gone on for 15 years, I don't know. But it was a long-standing, as a agricultural parish, St. Landry was themed the yam capital of the world, or the sweet potato capital of the world. So they had a festival focused on that, and they had, you know, it's a traditional festival, so like pageants, and they had the Yamali Queen, and you know, food and fair and whatnot. It was very well known. It was and then of course the Yambali building, which is a parish building, was held at the Yambali building. So it was, you know, well known, well marketed festival here. But can't remember exactly why it ended or when. I mean, it was before me, so I'm not quite sure.
I forget where I found that list of festivals from, but that was on there still. And it seems I see a pattern of these community meetings where I mention one that has been canceled and people were like, oh, maybe we should bring that back. And in the chat box, Mr. Donald Broussard mentioned fraternities and sororities in Opelousas, as well as Masonic and Eastern Star organizations that contribute scholarships to high school students, as well as engage in community service programs throughout Opelousas and St. Landry Parish. Thank you, Donald. Okay.
There's also the St. Landry Parish Tourism. On the second Saturday of every month, they host a Zydeco Jam that attracts, well, I mean, obviously COVID. They're not doing them right now, but they would attract visitors from well outside of the region. And then, so that's on the second Saturday of every month. And then on the third Saturday of every month they do a Cajun music jam at the visitor center.
Okay. And I see the Holy Ghost Creole Festival and Bazaar and the lighting of Lavu Village. Did I pronounce that correctly?
La Vieux Village.
La Vieux Village. I am not French, but I'm working on it. And then the Music and Market is in the spring and fall. And then Miss Phyllis mentioned the Tripe Festival. Do you have any a website link or anything that I can kind of view?
Well, I have flyers and posters and a whole lot of nice things that just wasn't used this year that I will use for next year.
I'm sorry.
I do have something I can send you.
I appreciate that.
Okay.
There's also the gumbo cook-off that's taking place every year. That's very popular. And what was the other one that I just had on the tip of my tongue? The gumbo cook-off and just give me 1 second and it'll come back to me.
Isn't there also some sort of like beef something or
Yes, that's what it was. Where's the beef cook-off?
Yes,
Where's
beef
the beef?
cook-off.
Here's the beef. Yeah. Here's the beef cook-off. I'm a horrible mom. Y'all hear that, right? So here's the beef cook-off is put on by the Beef Association, Cattlemen's Association. There we go.
And since we're on this section about the arts, I just want to reiterate about the new business on West Landry Street called Bottoms Up Arts Center, where kids will be learning piano lessons, voice, drumline, karate, among other things. So that's something new that just started this January, but had to stop in March, and I already had picked up about 30 students. So it's out there if anybody's interested.
Miss Phyllis, do you have a website or a Facebook?
I definitely do.
Awesome.
I'll send it to you.
That would be great. I appreciate that.
Okay.
Y'all need to get with the chamber so we can put on a ribbon cutting, get y'all some business.
Okay, thank you.
Let's see, and we have some more comments that I want to read aloud in the chat box. Mr. Brent Dupre said, nonprofit organizations called Iron Sharpens Iron, located in Opelousas. The mission is to educate the youth, community service, provide a weekly podcast called the Black Pot Podcast, talking about social issues in the community and biblical truths. Mr. Donald Broussard said the Holy Ghost Creole Bazaar and Church Festival. And then Chad with APC asked about an NEA, which is the National Endowment of the Arts, Our Town grant. Can anyone speak about that? Opelousas NEA grant.
I missed out on that. Zoom just shut down for a second.
Okay.
There's also, like I said before, the Opelousas Mardi Gras. That's traditional Mardi Gras that's been going strong for a few years now. And also, of course, the Opelousas Christmas Parade that happens every year.
Chad, I think you might be thinking about Arnoville. I know because I know they had gotten the creative placemaking in the NEA, or they were designated as one of 14 cities nationwide that exhibit creative placemaking.
We also have the electric box or traffic box art box thing that's going on right now, where they're taking like the boxes that house all the electronic parts to like different intersections and the red lights and stuff, and they got Opelousas Tourism received a grant to have artists design designs for those and then paint them. And then we also have all of the fiddles that are around the courthouse and throughout Opelousas.
Okay.
Yeah, if you Google Fiddle Mania Opelousas, it should come up.
Fiddle Mania. And then
the Opelousas Little Theater. I saw somebody commented about.
Oh yeah, yes.
Opelousas Little Theater. They do, I think, 2 programs a year.
And the Step and Strut Trail Ride was a social activity which existed for 15 years. And then, what about an arts council?
Nah.
There's the Tricentennial Arts Group. It's an abbreviated TAG, TAG. And I think that's some of it kind of intertwines with some of the Walking Ladies, but their goal was to take some of the vacant buildings that are currently vacant, and some of them are up for lease or whatever, but vacant buildings, and take the window frontages and make them art displays, like a community art gallery, basically, in the downtown area. So that would be considered an art council, I guess.
Okay. And we have Hamilton Academy of the Arts has provided dance, ballet, tap, jazz, modern, African, and hip hop in the community for 40 years. And Chad asked about the Delta Grand. The Delta Grand is a huge asset that is woefully underused. That could be a very significant asset. What is the Delta Grand?
That's a historical opera house.
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
It's in the courthouse square. Great location right across from the courthouse. And I agree, great location to have events, private and public. And then of course there's the Yambly building, which we talked about earlier, which is the other parish owned event center. More of a multi-use facility, because they've got the Yambly up front, which is like a big cement floor type situation, and they also have the arena, the ag arena behind it. You can have agricultural events as well. So they have, like, it's like a not a gravel, but like a sand bottom.
This is going to come up again in the built category, but I think there's a lot of overlap into the cultural. What we're looking at here is the Louisiana Office of Cultural Development Standing Structures and Districts map. So this big yellow outline here is the Opelousas Cultural District, and then within it you have the Opelousas Residential District, eligible district is what it says, and downtown's Opelousas Historic District National Register. So this shows you the local, state, and federally designated districts, and then here is your the historic district. And but what's cool is you can, oh, maybe not this one. Oftentimes it will show you the documents that were used to apply. Sometimes they have maps and old photos, and then it will show you these little points are we have the St. Landry Lumber Company, the Venus House, the Weir House. And so it shows you these points.
Hey, Kate, I'd like to bring this up, and you can place this here, or you can think it may be better to be placed in another area. But when you talk about the culture of this area and the impact, I'm not sure that you can avoid the conversation about the influence of the equine industry on this area, whether that be the Evangeline Downs racetrack, the Copper Crown Equestrian Center, the equine sales facility that's associated with that. The equine related, and you mentioned Step and Strut earlier, which is an equine event, but the equine industry as a whole is really, really big in the St. Landry area. So I don't know if you consider that part of the business culture or the actual culture, but I think we'd be remiss not to just bring that up at least.
Thanks for that, Bill. And I know that came up during our I-49 visioning meeting as well. So we can definitely do a blurb about that.
Yeah, Bill, can you elaborate on the sale that they have there? Because I think there's like, what is it, 2 or 3 in the entire country?
Yeah, many people would say, and there was actually a big 2-day quarter horse sale that was held over the weekend on Friday and Saturday at the Equine Sales Building. But I've personally spoken with people in Lexington, Kentucky, and we all know what that is as far as its relationship to horse racing. But I'm told people in Lexington view Lexington, Ocala, Florida, and Opelousas, Louisiana in that order on kind of where some of the equine centers in the United States are. So whether that be for sales, like in equine sales through thoroughbreds or quarter horses, large animal vet centers, training facilities for race horses, and actual events, racing events that are associated with that. For example, the Evangeline Downs racetrack has almost 1,100 stalls associated that they keep pretty full all the time with racehorses. So, and that's just a sampling. It's a huge area for equine overall.
Okay. Okay, are there any other noteworthy things related to cultural?
Was there a reason you pointed out the businesses where the stores are, like St. Landry Lumber? Is there a reason for that? Is it registered, nationally registered is what you were saying?
Yes, ma'am. Those are nationally registered structures.
So it's not because they're in the historic district, but because they're nationally registered, right?
Right. So like, let's see. I put that map that I was showing in the chat box, and if you click on one of those points, it will bring up, like here, we're looking at the Weir House. It'll show you all of the information on the National Register related to it, like the date of the registration, the criteria that it falls under that deems it eligible for registration.
And what does that open the door for them? What are they able to do because they're nationally registered?
That's a good question.
Because my building is over 60, 70 years old. I guess I can register too, right?
I would have to ask my coworkers for more guidance on how, what deems a place eligible, be it age or architecture style. And I'm going to just take a crack at answering that, but someone might correct me. That you have historic tax credits available for rehabilitations and things related to historic sites.
I would strongly recommend anyone interested in learning more about the benefits of recognizing historical buildings to contact Melanie LaBeouf with the City of Opelousas and the Opelousas Historic Society. You can also find them on Facebook, and they are the Historic District on Facebook, and I believe she's on that board as well. And so she can talk a little bit, but yeah, tax credits are one. There's also like certain grants only, I think, for those specific registered areas and or buildings. And there's a lot more criteria, unfortunately, than just having an older building. You have to, maintain certain integrities of the building and whatnot. But I highly recommend for more detailed information about that to contact Melanie.
All right, thank you.
We do have a comment on the Facebook page that I want to read out. Someone brought up the MACA Art Gallery exhibit in the Opelousas Tourism Center.
That's MACA. That's a school. It's actually an art school.
And then give me 1 second. So I know there's a few significant cultural attractions like the Opelousas National Historic, the Museum and Interpretive Center, the Fireman,
Yes,
the Creole Heritage and Folklife Center, the Louisiana Orphan Train Museum.
Yeah. And then a relatively new one is I'm going to murder the name, the Opelousas African American Heritage Museum. I don't know if that was right. Something like that, but it's relatively new. I think it's only been open for like a year or two. But they just received some funding, some crowdsourced funding. So that might be something interesting.
Okay.
I believe it's pretty unique.
Yeah, it's definitely something that needs to be highlighted. And I think we covered most of what we're going to get for cultural capital. Does anyone have anything before we move on? Okay, natural capital. So I'm gonna read off what I have. I have the South City Park, the Opelousas RV Park, the Caribbean Campground and Wellness Center, Fern Street Playground, and Red Oaks Golf Club Golf Course. That's what I was able to find. Is there any major thing that I'm missing?
I don't know if it's access to the TESH is of relevance.
Bayou Teche, yes, that is a big thing. So I have South City Park as a campground with 61 RV sites, beautiful shady trees, and plenty of recreation for those who want to enjoy the outdoors. The park is perfect for families and reunions with large covered pavilion, barbecue areas, tennis courts, and a playing field. The camping sites can accommodate 30, 50 amp hookups and have access to water, electricity, and an on-site dumping station. Brad said Indian Hills Golf Course. Thank you. We have Allison Saunders with the TLE Governor's Office is a great resource for questions related to historic preservation tax credits. And that's going back to Miss Phyllis's question about eligibility and historic.
Aid, St. Landry Parish and Opelousas as well are very popular for cyclists. There are a lot of parish roads that have been repaved in the last 5 or so years, and there's a significant amount of cyclists that go to St. Landry Parish on the weekends, on Saturdays and Sunday mornings for long distance cycling.
Okay.
And another
for
thing,
those
I
of us
think you
who
mentioned
are-
South Park, but you, I think, early on in your identification, but there's actually a nice new walking trail that's being built and is just getting ready to be formally open to the public within South Park, COVID withstanding. But that's another asset I think is worth noting.
Okay. Awesome.
And for those of us who are a little bit less active but do actually know how to ride a bike, there is a leisure trail. There's a leisure trail through the historic district of Opelousas that connects the two parks with designated bike lanes and whatnot. And then in route of the biking trail through historic Opelousas, there's also a new pocket park, is what they're calling it, which will feature, it's right by the chamber. It will feature like an amphitheater of some sort with a mini walking trail within it and like a stage. So they're calling it a pocket park, and it's in the historic downtown Opelousas.
Okay. North City Park. Thank you for that. Okay, did we get everything? Ms. Phyllis mentioned there are many trail ride organizations that set up in various areas. Okay. All right, built capital. So we already looked at our historic and cultural districts. Here, I'm going to give a highlight to the local accommodations, and we want to especially point out any local air or bed and breakfasts. So is there any site or a place where I can find a list of these, or?
I wish I could answer that for you right now, Kate. We can try to find it, but I can't answer that question for you.
Okay.
There's one in Sunset.
And I know there's a bunch in Arnoville too. And then, so what about the airport, the St. Landry Parish Airport? Is that available to the public, or is that a private airport?
No, Kate, that is the St. Landry Parish Airport with tremendous capacity as far as runway availability. You can look that up and get the detailed specs on the runway. It's actually very active and becoming very progressive, and it's clearly one of our really significant assets that has a lot of potential in this area.
And
Okay.
then they just recently did a back in June, I think it was, they did a fly-in event. If you look on their Facebook page, they've got some incredible photos that really showcase the airport and its capacities really well.
Okay. Let's see. I was not able to find a website for them, but you said they have a good Facebook page.
They do not have a website, but they do have a Facebook page. We can also get you directly in touch with the director of the airport if that would be useful.
That would be great.
Okay, and under this section 2, I think it would be worth noting that the Acadiana Shortline Rail operates rail operations throughout the greater Opelousas area and beyond with that. So if you're looking at asset capital, particularly in transportation related resources, that's significant, and it services companies like Ventura Foods, Prairie Construction, and a number of major employers in this area. So we have actually strong rail capacity within Opelousas, and actually an artery feed line with Union Pacific. It's one of the main east-west artery feed lines that is also in close proximity within Opelousas, talking about this type of a capital asset.
Awesome. Chad asked if we have a GIS layer for the short line rail.
I don't think we do, Chad. I don't know if that's available, but if we can please make a note of that, I'll get with their director, CEO, and see if we can. That would be an excellent thing that we could include. That would be a very valuable resource. We can absolutely check that.
So, Cade, when you talk about your built assets, have you guys highlighted the significance of the I-49 and 190 interchange that's right in the middle of Opelousas?
That is absolutely something that needs to happen, and maybe we even plug the I-49 Midway Corridor project here. What do you think, Bill?
Bill?
What do you think about plugging the I-49 Midway Corridor project in the built category?
I think that's a good idea, Kate. And I'm sorry, I've got a dog that's been here with me for 12 hours. It's going absolutely crazy. Yeah, I actually think that would be a good idea. I think that there's clearly a piggyback and an overlap with these. And so I'm going to bring this up to you too when we talk about asset capital breakout. And one of the unique things that Opelousas has, there's two of the boards that fall underneath our umbrella that, you know, are doing significant planning and infrastructure development related projects in and around the Opelousas area with the Central St. Landry Board and the Opelousas Downtown Development Board. You would think that they'd want to break and come into this process somewhere. I don't know if this is where they plug in, but they provide significant pieces of that investment opportunity for businesses maybe looking to come into these opportunity zones.
Okay.
The Opelousas Downtown Development District is also going through the creation of a new master plan for its district.
And that's Miss Lena, correct?
Correct, yes.
Okay, I remember her from the August White House visit, and we'll be giving we'll include the Downtown Development District as one of the economic partners in the document too.
And then it's not Opelousas proper, but there's also the Port of Krotz Springs, which is, Bill, how many miles to the east is the port?
Roughly, I'd say about 24, if I had to take a guess.
That's a pretty specific.
Okay. What about, okay, Miss Phyllis mentioned bus station at the Shell gas station on Cresswell, and transportation and taxi cab companies. And what about any potential brownfield sites? And just so
the New Life Center.
Yeah, the New Life Center. we toured the New Life Center with the White House Opportunity and Revitalization Council, and we got to walk around on the inside. And the building has a lot of potential. I think we're going to be including them later in the prospectus document. We have a section for catalyst projects. So that's definitely going to be a highlight of the catalyst project.
So there's also the old, we refer to it as the old federal building in downtown. Bill, was it a post office? Was it a courthouse? What, I don't remember exactly what it was, but it's a beautiful brick building downtown.
It was the old post office building downtown at one point in time. It's actually the one that you got in the photo that I commented on early on. Okay, that's a profile or a side profile of that building.
This
That
one?
was it. That's it. That's it. Yep, that's it.
Okay.
But to pure brownfield sites, I can't think of any. I'll let you know if something comes to my mind, but I can't think of any pure brownfield sites that would be identified within the greater. There probably is some, but none come to my mind right off the top.
And for anyone viewing who's not sure what a brownfield site is, essentially any site that has contamination from its previous use, things like old gas stations or old medical facilities that may have mercury from thermometers. The Brownfield program is an environmental protection agency program that essentially they identify and evaluate and help to mitigate those effects of the brownfield so that those locations can re-enter as fundable by banks opportunities, because most of the times if a place has brownfield contamination, they cannot acquire bank funding. So that's what the brownfield program is. Okay, I think we covered infrastructure pretty well. Are there any major things that anyone would like to say before we move on to the political capital? Okay. So as mentioned before, political capital is pretty easy for me. Here in the prospectus, we are going to provide a list of the city hall departments and just a brief description of the city hall. And but is there anything anyone would like to contribute to this?
If you could get a new picture of the city hall building, it's been recently, I mean, I think more recent than the picture you have there. It's been recently repainted and has some really fantastic signage now. So, I mean, minor, but if you are going to include a picture of City Hall, I think the new signage is so modern and cool.
Okay, and this
I
is
agree.
this is a great opportunity for me to plug once again. If anyone has good pictures that I can use of any of this, please send them to me.
No good pictures over here, just good ideas.
I'm only able to find what I can on the internet, and like I said, we want to finish the prospectuses within the next 2 weeks, and I think driving across Acadiana for pictures would be a little difficult. So if anyone wants to contribute, I would greatly appreciate that. Mr. Donald in the chat says, I have access to large capital investment dollars, and we've been attempting to come into St. Landry Parish and Opelousas since 2016. That's great news. Okay, moving on. Financial capital. This is where we're going to want to highlight our local banks and financial institutions, and give a shout out to all of our economic partners. So We'll have a blurb for One Acadiana. We have SLED, which is St. Landry Economic Development, St. Landry Chamber of Commerce, the Tourist Commission, and Opelousas' Downtown Development District. Are there any major ones that I'm missing? Okay.
You
The
have
only thing-
the central district in there as well, right?
Say that one more time.
The central, we call it CSLED, the
CSLED.
Central Economic Development District.
Okay, yeah, that's important. We'll be sure to put them in there.
Also, the St. Landry Chamber, and the reason I'm mentioning this as an addition to the chamber is because by the time it comes to fruition, it was supposed to start this year, but it's been pushed to next year for obvious reasons. And it might eventually fall under its own 501c. But we have and are going forward with a Leadership St. Landry program that obviously does professional development, registering assets with local professionals. So asset identification and professional development for local professionals in the community. And like I said, that's something that's coming in 2021. And it
Awesome.
so that's going to be, a lot of obvious, I'm sure you're familiar with like Leadership Lafayette and so on. So that's something that we're going to be having in our arsenal as a community pretty soon.
And this is coming out of the St. Landry Chamber of Commerce, correct?
Yes, but there's a potential there for, like with Leadership Lafayette, it being its own, like I said, it eventually filing under a 501c3 that is, within the chamber.
Is that something that is far enough in progress that there's materials that I could borrow and put in this prospectus?
We will have a sidebar on that.
Okay, gotcha.
So I don't know where this fits in, but I definitely think that highlighting the chamber in this as an asset, wherever that fits, is important. Especially, I think that they have been a massive asset to the community and to our local businesses throughout all of the COVID stuff. I've been actually incredibly impressed with the amount of input and effort that they've given to the community through all of this. So keep them on the asset list wherever they fit.
Absolutely.
Well, if we didn't have fantastic board members and partners from all over the community, like in St. Landry Economic Development, we just would not be as inspired and supported to do the great and wonderful things that we had the blessing and opportunity to do. So thank you, Taylor.
Of course.
Awesome.
Can we all start singing Kumbaya?
Okay, that's the end of the asset capital breakout sessions, but is there anything, it doesn't matter what it falls under, something that about Opelousas that might not have been mentioned yet that you would like to highlight at this point?
So, and Bill can back me up, and this may be a temporary thing, but when you look at where we are positioned, when we talked about political assets with our representative, and just the mayor of Opelousas, and a lot of different things are in place right now that have never really been in place before for Opelousas. And it's definitely something that has lent to a lot of progress, that a lot of people they don't see it. It's not, it's not headline making necessarily, but it's putting a lot of different things in place that will see a lot of progress over the next 3 to 5 years. And Bill, well, he's gone again, but he can elaborate. Oh, there. Bill, can you elaborate a little bit more on that? I just think that it's really important right now. We've got, we're just in a really good position.
Yeah, I'll try. I'm trying to manage a puppy here that's just going crazy. So if you hear dogs in the background, I apologize for that. She's just had all she can take.
The dog's name, real quick, is Clarice, right?
Clovis.
Clovis the crawfish.
Yes.
Okay. Sorry, Bill.
Yeah, so there's really strong alignment within the leadership structure. And I think I was trying to keep a dog from barking. I think this is what Taylor was talking about with our legislative delegation on the Senate and the House, city leadership, parish leadership, our relationship in this area with the governor's office in Baton Rouge. Everything is very strongly aligned along with the capital resources that we have. We've been successful in getting some pretty nice capital outlay awards in this past session. We look to do that more. So there's really the potential for us to really improve a lot of infrastructure resources right now, combining that with some of the assets that are available through some of the boards that we manage. This area really sits at a good time to develop very strong infrastructure assets. And so if somebody's looking to invest, Kate, I'm just telling you that if let's just take the New Life Center, for example. If there were a project and a real developer with a really nice project to come in, I think there would be no question that there would be the willingness to have a partnership with the city, with our downtown development board, with our legislative delegation, and to provide the amount of resources necessary to make that cost effective for a developer to come in and make that project work. And I don't know how we necessarily clarify that in a prospectus like this, but it is a really unique opportunity that I don't think a lot of areas see. And this area probably won't see it forever, but it's clearly here right now. I just don't know, and maybe we'll have to rely on some of Chad's expertise on if and how we kind of highlight that in this perspective.
In other words, there's been a lot of kumbaya being sung recently.
Exactly.
Awesome.
I'm sure if you just put that, they'll get it. I would also add that along with like the partnerships amongst the different levels of governance and like I said with different organizations, I'm sure y'all are going to utilize previous planning programs to make sure we have a full understanding of the assets we have here.
Thank you. I want to take this opportunity to encourage you to visit our website, planacadiana.org. And then if you go to economic development and opportunity zones, we have maps where you can check the location of the boundaries of the opportunity zones, view previous versions of the prospectuses, and stay up to date with any events and news. And then I want to show you investigateiana.com by Acadiana Planning Commission and One Acadiana is a great resource for information regarding specifically Acadiana opportunity zones. And this is where you can, if you have money and you want to invest or you have a project, this is where you should look. And they also have a great parish profile on St. Landry Parish here. And I want to point you, last but not least, to Opportunity St. Landry, which is SLED's website, which is a great resource and has been very helpful for me putting together this prospectus and Eunice's prospectus. St. Landry Parish is the only parish in our region that has opportunity zones in more than one community. So I think that wraps up our meeting. Thank you all for attending. I really appreciate all the feedback. I'm going to put my email address in the chat box if anyone would like to reach out for any purpose after this meeting.
Kate, I'd like to say to both you and Chad, but specifically to you, you're becoming almost like a seasoned pro in conducting these. You did a really nice job with this, and it just seemed, in a relatively short period of time, I think, so we're literally seeing you develop into a planning professional right before our eyes. Thank you for what you're doing, and I know that goes to a lot of having Chad as a mentor and a coach probably has a lot to do with that. So thank you, Chad, and thank both of you.
Yeah, Bill, I really appreciate you saying that. And it's been a pleasure working with SLED for the past year. And I think we're going to do a lot of good stuff.
Just gonna keep singing Kumbaya.
Yeah, thank you, Taylor, and thank you, Raquel. Thank you, everyone who came to this meeting. And I think we can adjourn the meeting at this point. All right, thanks. And
Thank you.
I'm gonna go ahead and end the meeting. We'll talk soon.
All right,
Have a good one.
bye.
Bye-bye.